All right. Well, thank you all for coming on again tonight, and hope we can learn a little bit tonight. Tonight, I intend to talk slightly different to what we normally do. Normally, I just come directly in with all of the oils and everything. Tonight, I want to just sort of change it up a little bit because it's the end of Movember, and we're coming into the silly season. And I remember back 30 odd years ago when I became a single parent, how difficult it was to try and negotiate around the children, Christmas time, being a single dad, who gets the children for Christmas, and that loneliness, and all of those difficult times. Plus, when we look at everything that's going on around the world at the moment, money's difficult. All of those sorts of things. And what I want to look at also is how do we communicate with someone that is really struggling? And how do we communicate with people that have gone through difficult times? And then we're going to look at, as we're coming into the Christmas season, we're going to look at some oils that were brought to Christ. Now, because I'm a Christian, this is going to have a little bit of biblical background to it as well, and we're going to be talking through those sorts of things as well. So tonight is going to be a little bit different, but because I've done some psychology as part of my background with my doTERRA, with my massage clinic, I just thought these are some of the things that were highlighted to me that we can help others during those difficult times. So what I'll do is I'll share the screen now, and we'll go from there. So just need to bring that up. Why isn't that sharing? There it goes. And I'll just move this part away. Okay, so is that shared properly? There we go. All right. So what we see here is what we call a firmament. This is where the water is above and below the surface, and we've got land in the center. And right at the beginning of the Bible, it talks about God said, "Let there be light." Then God said, "Let there be a firmament between the waters and the land." And then the very first thing that he made on the earth was the grass, the herb yielding seed, the fruit trees, and all of those seeds that go with it. For some reason, the bar to help me with the screen is right across everything I'm going to read. And the earth brought forth all of the things that we have on the grass in itself. It's the very first thing that he did. And so what we want to look at tonight is how can those things actually help us in what we're doing? So why won't my screen now change? There we go. So where was what they believed to be the Garden of Eden? We see here it's in the Middle East, and we see right over on the right-hand side is the Ganges, which is, we're going to look at some oils that start right at the very top of the Ganges River. We look in the middle of it, we've got the Euphrates River, and then across to the Nile River. So we're going to look at a couple of oils from this particular area tonight, because this is where the ancient oils originally came from. So tonight's going to be all about these ancient oils that come from this particular area of the planet Earth. We found out in the last month that when we look at men's suicide, and I'm not just putting this down to men, women seem to talk a lot better to each other and support each other a lot better. So we're going to be looking at how we can support men tonight, but using these techniques, we can also help women through the difficult times. So 6 men take their life every single day, and 82 have suicidal thoughts and have to call an ambulance for support through those thoughts. So what I wanted to do is pick up on Elijah. This was a man who really struggled with life. And so we're going to have a bit of a look at how he struggled in his life. And what we find is in 1 Kings chapter 17 at verse 5, he said, and he went down to the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. So he went down to this creek that runs into a really dirty, muddy river. And there he's been fed by what the ravens bring to him and drinks the water out of this river. So here's this guy that's really down in his dumps. He's really struggling in life. And the rain just stopped and he's got nothing to drink. And he's really, really struggling in life. Now, we know a lot of people that are like this. They're putting their hand out because they've just got no ability to get themselves up and get going again. And because of this, he's like, well, what am I going to do? And after all this time, he finds out that the river's dried up, and God says to him, I want you to go to the king. I want you to go and see the rulers of this country and talk to them. And he turns up to the rulers in the country, and in verse 17 it says, it came to pass Ahab, which was the king at the time, who was married to Jezebel, saw Elijah, and next thing he's pointing his finger at him and going, you're the person that causes all the troubles in this earth. Don't we sometimes feel like our rulers and our government and the people that we rely on a lot in life cause a few struggles in life? And he's like, well, hang on a minute. You guys are the ones that are causing the problems, and you're blaming me for it. And then his wife comes to, who's Jezebel, comes to Elijah and says, you know, you've done all of these things to my people. And Jezebel, the wife of the king of the country, says, I'm going to come and kill you because of how much dramas you're causing in my life. And this poor guy, he then turned around and he jumped up and he ran for his life and he headed all the way down south to Beersheba. But the critical thing was he left his friends. Now, if you're going to leave your friends behind, that's when life becomes difficult. And this guy has walked out on his mate and headed down into the desert. Now, when we look at the map shows he's gone from Jerusalem, right up the top, down to Beersheba, and he's heading into the Negev desert. Now, how can you survive when you're heading into a desert? Life gets really, really difficult. So this guy now is in a really difficult position in his life. And he's gone a day's journey into the desert. Now, you note there that he's gone into this wilderness and he sat down under a juniper tree. Now, I want you to hold that thought. He's now laying under a juniper tree. And he asked to commit suicide. He requests that he might take his life. And he says to God, take my life. I'm no better than all the people that are before me. I'm no better. And he's laying under the juniper tree. And note that it's the second time it's mentioned there. And somebody came and touched him on the shoulder. What did he say to Elijah? Come on, mate, get up. Like, it's time to get going. It's time. Yeah, come on. You can't be like that. No, what he said to him was, do you want a cake? Do you want a drink? Do you want to sit up? He's not having a crack at him. He's actually saying, hey, I don't know what to do, but here's something to eat and here's something to drink. So he got up, he had it, he laid back down again. mentioned under the juniper tree again. Then he wakes him back up again and he says, come on, mate, have a drink, something to eat. Arise and eat, because there's still a lot of a journey in front of you. Life is still going to go on. There's still lots to go on. In verse 7, he says, because the journey is too great for thee. Come on, we're going to have to eat something and get going. And then he went for 40 nights. Life went on for another 40 nights. Keep that in mind as well. So what's a juniper tree like? Juniper trees are part of the cypress tree family. It's the cousin to the cypress trees. Cypress trees are great big pine trees, huge big trees, strong trees that we build houses with. But the ugly juniper berry cousin is the most useless tree amongst the trees. About the only thing it's good for is firewood. Have a look at the twists and the gnarl in that tree. It's a struggle. It's a real struggle for it to grow in the desert area in a really difficult climate. And then the berries that it grows, look at them. You notice what we have for Christmas decorations. These berries, you break your teeth trying to bite into them. But they're Christmas decorations. Why do we use that for the decorations around our trees? Because the juniper oil is noted for the turpentine in it. It's recorded to increase the rate of kidney filtration, which in turn increases urinary flow, which helps to flush out the bacteria in the kidneys and the bladder. How many people do you know around Christmas time that might need some kidney filtration? Okay, this is really good for helping clean that center line of the body. Getting the center line of the body in tune with the rest of the body. Cleaning that out. What else is it really good for? Juniper berry is good for sleep. It's a calming scent and is believed to produce sedative effects, and during meditation or prior to sleep or helping one feel calm and relaxed, juniper oil is believed to provide an effective cleanse when applied. So here we have got him laying under a juniper tree to help calm and relax the body. So what do we need to help our friends? When our friends are going through these traumas in life, could we help out our friend? What's most people that are really going through struggles in life turn to? Alcohol. Maybe we can help them increase their kidney filtration. Maybe we can help them sleep better. Maybe we can help them feel calmer and relaxed during the silly season, as it's called. So here we have poor Elijah going through the hell of his life, panicking about the government around the world attacking him, panicking about his friends leaving him, heading into a desert. He's been drinking muddy water out of the brook. He's been eating food from the worst places possible, and he needs his body cleansed. And this is what is being provided for him. Maybe it's a good time to get a bottle of juniper berry to put in with what you're doing. Okay, so what's he done? 40 days later, he's walked through the desert and he's hiding in a cave. And he's lodged there, and God comes to him and he says, what are you doing here, Elijah? So now's about the time to start talking to him. He's been under the juniper tree. He's had 40 days to think about what's going on in life. And now he comes to him and he says, how am I going to talk to you? All right. And he's saying, everybody wants to kill me. You know, in verse 10, it's saying they seek my life and they want to take it away. And And next thing, there's a great strong wind races through the rocks. But that's not how we talk to people that are struggling, is it? Then there's a great big earthquake. We don't come crashing in and going, this is what we're going to do. We don't come with a forked tongue in verse 12, a fire. How we come and talk to these sort of people is with a nice, still, small voice. We have a chat with them. Hey, bud, what are we going to do? Then you notice that in the last verse, in verse 13, Elijah went and wrapped his face. He hid his face. Oh, I don't want to talk to anyone. And how do we say? What are you doing here, mate? Come on. The very last line. What are you doing here, Elijah? So here he is. He's got his face wrapped in a myrtle. He's hiding his face. And this is what people do. The best way we can talk to them is a nice, quiet, calm voice and offer them another cup of coffee. So that's the way I want to end with Movember. And now we're heading into the silly season, into Christmas. And this is somebody put this picture together. They did send me a message and thank me for using it. And I've totally forgotten that person's name. If I find it, I'll add it into the comments underneath this when I share it around. So as we come into the silly season, as I call it, or at the Christmas time, the wise men, what did they bring to Christ? So we know there was 3 things that they brought to him. That's why they say there was 3 wise men. We don't know exactly how many there were, but there was 3 items brought to them. And the very first one is myrrh. Now, if you note, myrrh is another one of those bushes that are really, really harsh. They got some of the longest thorns on them out of all the bushes, and they grow in very harsh country. As we note, it's a very desert climate around that Egypt area and down into Somalia. And the branches have these great big spikes off them, and then they've got tiny, tiny leaves on them. Now, what do we know myrrh was used for? Well, this goes way back to Egyptian time. The Egyptians use myrrh for embalming the people. And you can see in the bottom corner of the picture there, they got the jars of oil there, and they wrap the Egyptians up with it because it preserves and it looks after the biggest organ of our body, which is the skin. The gut is also a very similar constituency as our skin is, but it is fantastic for the layering of the skin. And we see the benefits of it is it helps prevent bacteria from growing on the skin. It supports with the healing of the skin. It also helps with pain and swelling that might produce just underneath the skin. It's a powerful antioxidant, and it may even kill some parasites, they believe, that may come to the surface of the skin on the body. But the main thing we know it's been used for is embalming the royal Egyptian bodies. And as they've opened them up many, many years later, in the last 50, 60, 100 years, they've found like Tutankhamun and all of those sort of bodies, and they've gone, wow, the skin is actually still intact after, we're talking could be 3,000, 4,000 years they've been living in the pyramids. And so when we look at how can we help the skin of the body, myrrh is an absolute amazing property for that. And also for the aches and pains that it can be just under the surface of the skin. Now, if you've got a bottle of myrrh, you've got to keep it warm, is what I've noticed. It's a very, very thick oil. And as you note from the pictures of how it grows, the harvesting of myrrh, if you're doing it by hand, it's going to cut your skin. So it's very interesting that something that's got such big thorns on it is also so beneficial for the skin of the body. The second oil that they brought to Christ was frankincense. Now you'll note that the trees are very sparsely grown, and they grow out of the side of rocks and in very harsh country. And it's actually very difficult to grow a frankincense tree. Now, those trees that are in front of us, due to the size of them, would be many years old. I believe it's about 7 or 8 years before they can even put the first cut in them to make the frankincense tree bleed, and the sap bleeds from the tree, and then they snap the sap off as it sets, as you see in his basket there, and they collect that sap, and then from there they extract the oil from the sap. Now they can only cut the tree. It's got to be something like 4 foot apart, or just over a meter apart each cut on the tree. Otherwise, they end up killing the trees if they put too many cuts into the tree. And you'll see that the droplets look just like blood. And when we actually start talking about frankincense, this is a lot to do with the blood. And we see as it goes through the human body, it may reduce arthritis. Frankincense also has an anti-inflammatory effects on the human body in the joints, and the inflammation caused by arthritis. We know it may even support the gut function. So when we consume it, if you get an oil that is produced properly, it is able to be taken internally. You can rub it in your mouth, in your gums, to support the gums as well. It's believed to have anti-cancer properties, and it may even help with the memory and storing memory in the brain. Now, what I like to do is put a drop on my thumb, rub it on my palate, and let it go up into the brain to help with that inflammation around the brain that causes headaches and those sorts of things. I personally like to put 4 or 5 drops in a glass of water first thing in the morning and have that drink as the first thing that I do in the morning. I do that with a little bit of citrus oil, like lemon or grapefruit or something like that. And I also put copaiba in my drink and my glass of water first thing in the morning as well. So putting that, having that frankincense first thing in the morning helps the body to be able to get the brain activated and start thinking well. So what are some of the other oils that are mentioned in the Bible? Spikenard is another incredible oil. We see in both Mark and in John, spikenard was brought to Christ and rubbed into his feet. Now, why would you want to put the spikenard on your feet? Now, your feet absorb the oils best out of, it is one of the best ways externally to absorb it up right through the body, because there's large pauses on the bottom of the feet, and it goes all the way up. But why spikenard? Now, the reason why spikenard was so critical for Christ was because when you actually look at all the different oils, spikenard carries the chemistry of every single different oil there is out there. So frankincense holds one type, wintergreen holds another, lavender holds another, juniper berry holds another. They're all different types of terpenes and monoterpenes and ketones and all of those sorts of things. Spikenard has a little tiny bit of every single one of them. And that's why I love the spikenard oil. It absolutely stinks. I'll be honest with you, it's not one of my favorite smelling oils, but when you look at different oils, this one has a bit of everything in it. Now, I believe at the moment, It's a bit of a struggle to get into Australia, but we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So where do they come from? We see the spikenards come from right up in the top of the Ganges. The frankincense comes from India and Somalia, and the myrrh comes up near the Euphrates, I believe. Where else have they used myrrh for Christ? When he was on the cross, they offered it to him as a painkiller, which I found very interesting. I've never looked at it as something to help with pain, but they say with inflammation, myrrh can support with that. But we also see that Nicodemus in the last chapter of John came to actually use the myrrh to embalm our Lord Jesus Christ. So it was used also, it was offered, or it was used to embalm him at the end of his crucifixion as well. And then the Bible actually ends with, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, crystal clear, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. And in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, there was a tree of life, which bore 12 kinds of fruit, and yielding her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. How is the earth going to be healed from everything? It's going to be from the healing, from the leaves of the trees were for the healing. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. So what I'm suggesting tonight is, if you get a bottle of frankincense, a bottle of myrrh, I was going to say a bottle of spikenard, but at the moment it's not available, and I'm not sure when it will be coming back. I believe it's still available in America, but it's not available here at the moment. So if you get 2 bottles of juniper berry for the next couple of weeks, we're in December. If you were to buy those 2 larger oils and 2 of the juniper berry oils, you'll actually get a free frankincense. So if you want to talk to the person that put you onto this call tonight and find out how you can do that, or how you can get a free bottle of frankincense from the company, certainly get back in touch with them, and we'll help you be able to get that free bottle of frankincense worth well over $100 now. The frankincense is worth well over $100. So we'll stop sharing, and we can come back onto the screen, and I will stop the recording.